My name is NonStopAntonio, and today we are back with another episode of Superman and Lois. Today we are talking about episode 3, In Cold Blood. This episode had a lot of good moments, and I think the ending set up some very interesting stuff that's going to be happening this season. And today we're going to be reviewing it, breaking it down, talking about some fun Easter eggs, and as well breaking down that ending because it set up some cool stuff for this season. So let's jump into Superman and Lois episode 3. Welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. So first of all, this episode was just yet another great episode of Superman and Lois. The acting was amazing, really showing the struggle Lois is going through with having the diagnosis of breast cancer, and showing how she's trying to deal with it, how she's trying to avoid those feelings because she doesn't want to be weak. She wants to remain herself, but as soon as she goes on chemo, everything's going to change, and she's scared of that. Showing that Lois Lane is scared of something, and it's going to be a very interesting journey throughout this season because it's going to be a struggle for this family. Also, the visuals were once again top-notch. Having Superman fight that Intergang goon, and as well as seeing Natalie Irons and Jordan run around being heroes as well. Seeing the CG just looks great, and I love what they're doing because the show just has some top quality CGI, and also the cinematic look to it all just makes it so much better than some of the other CW shows. Now, there are 3 major plot points I want to talk about from this episode that really set up some conflict and drama going into the future of the season. So the first one, of course, is Lois being afraid of her cancer and going into chemo. She can't really go to the appointments. She keeps flaking and then running away. She's avoiding all her chemo because she's scared. Once she gets on chemo, she's going to be sick. She's going to lose her hair, she's going to lose her taste, and she's not going to be the woman she once was, and she's scared of that, which is so understandable because you don't want to lose who you are, and going through chemo is very hard. It's going to be a very big journey for her and her family during this season, and goddamn, I really love how Bitsy is doing this. It's so good, and the acting is phenomenal. And the best part during this episode is because she continues to push through it all and just be her regular reporter self, by skipping these chemo appointments and going straight into looking into Bruno Mannheim and trying to figure out what Intergang is doing. And she keeps putting on this face where Bruno Mannheim is her white whale. It's been a story she's been trying to break for a long time, and she uses it as an excuse to ditch her chemo appointments, but it's just her projecting her fear. I love the fact that they have all her friends and family by her side, and they started off the episode telling everyone about it. But it's great to see everyone supportive and helping Lois during all of this. I love that she called Lucy, and I do hope we get a guest appearance by her at some point. Either was cool to keep her from all the way back in Supergirl Season 1. The one thing I am surprised, though, is that Clark doesn't have any Kryptonian technology that could help them. Like, you would think that this alien from another planet would have that, but he doesn't. And I am glad that Sam brought it up, being like, don't you have something to help her? Because it's one of those plot points I was worried they were just going to kind of leave hanging and they weren't going to properly deal with, but I am glad they dealt with it. And of course, this plot really ties back to the other 2 going on during this episode. And the second one I want to talk about is Natalie, Jordan, and Jonathan's story from this episode and their little adventure they go on. Because in this episode, we did see Jonathan being held accountable for kissing his ex. To be fair, it wasn't his fault, but he should have really seen that there was other motives going to that party, because why else would your ex randomly call you, give you a really cool gift? And he's also wearing that gold chain, which he's like, well, it's very expensive, and it's just like, it's still not right for him to be doing that, and I love that they called him out for doing it, which makes him go to tell Candace. However, when he goes to drop her off, Candace's dad is there, and he's acting really sus. And at first I was thinking, well, he's probably trying to protect his daughter, and if he finds out that Jonathan kissed someone else, he's probably going to kill Jonathan, or try to, because he is a criminal. But in the end, her dad was just trying to steal his truck, and he did. He took it to a chop shop, which I thought was very sus in itself, that these guys go and steal this big fancy truck after asking a kid about it. Like, you don't think you put enough suspicion on yourself to get caught? You literally asked this kid if it's a new truck, how much it's worth, and now all of a sudden, you're not going to think that they realize you stole it? And it makes sense that Candace would defend her dad, because you want to believe that your parents aren't bad. You want to believe them that they're always doing good. However, that wasn't the case, and she was proved wrong in the end, and I could tell at the end there, when she goes to talk to Jonathan, that she felt really, really bad for it. Because before, she acted like Jonathan was just being better, that because she's poor, of course her dad would steal. However, that's not what he was trying to say. He was just curious because her dad literally sounded sus when he was talking to him. I thought the whole chop shop scene was really fun because you got Natalie suiting up because they're trying to get that watch back because it was something she was making for Lois, which really also ties back to the fact that Natalie was fixing up her mom's watch, which is Lois Lane from her Earth. And even John gets mad at her, but it was also still John trying to protect himself because Lois was once his wife and another Earth, and it's hard for him watching this woman he once loved die again. And he's worried about that, and he's kind of projecting those feelings onto his daughter, who's just also worried about this woman now that they both now care about, that isn't the one they lost, but someone that looks like her. And I think they dealt with that really well, because of course the kids go and steal the truck back, but we get some Superboy action and then some Natalie Iron Steel action, which I think was great, because what they really could do here is get Natalie and Jordan being more of a team like their fathers are. And it would be really cool to see Jordan with a Superboy suit and being called Superboy, because Superman's worried about him revealing himself to the world, but I think at some point during this season, he's going to reveal that there is a Superboy, and it's going to be a very cool entrance to this character, and I'm really hoping he does get a suit. That's like the one thing you would think. Superman's training his son, yet he still doesn't have a suit, and I think they really need to give him one. Now let's talk about the Superman dream, because the scene is Metropolis crumbling, falling into itself, and Lois almost dying, and it's all in Clark's head, and he sees this dream more than once. And this is what I was thinking during it, is that this is him kind of feeling the impending doom, or it's a possibility that after he met Onomatopoeia, he has something in his head that they kind of manipulated him to see the city he loves and the woman he loves possibly dying and crumbling. It also could be part of him that feels like he's gonna lose the love of his life, and that's what's really holding him back and making him dream these things. But I do think it's tying into Bruno Mannheim and the Intergang plot, because during this episode, we see Chrissy and Lois go and investigate them, and they find some blood, and then later get trapped in another medical center where Intergang is operating out of. It was very interesting in itself, because normally Lois Lane can get herself out of these things, but when she needs Superman's help, she needs Superman's help. I thought it was really cool to watch them try to figure out how they're gonna get out of this, because they can't call Superman because she's in an insulated place. However, when they get out, they're able to call him, and Superman comes in to whoop some ass, where we get a cool fight between Superman and one of the Intergang members using kryptonite blasters, which I think is possibly a tie to Lex Luthor, because in the comics, Lex's suit has Kryptonian gauntlets, and I think that's a tie to that, and maybe that's where they got the technology from, which I think is going to be really interesting, because we know Lex Luthor is coming this season. Now, during that scene, we did get a cool Easter egg, which could possibly a very big stretch, because it's just a name. However, what I noticed is, when comic book shows and movies put names in, usually they do tie back to something, and in this, we get the Danner Medical. And I looked up Danner trying to figure out who this could be, and in the comics, Hugo Danner is a character, and that character is a metahuman from the comics Young All-Stars. So it's a comic from back in the 80s, where he's a character who wanted to create his own race of superhumans, and the way he was created was his father injecting his mother with a experimental serum, and he later does that to a bunch of other pregnant women to make other super soldiers in a sense. That's pretty much all I got out of him. I don't think it was around for very long, but it was a very cool deep cut, if this was supposed to be a deep cut. Now let's talk about the ending of the episode, because I think it's very important to where this plot's going, especially with John Henry Irons and Lana Lang, and Superman, of course, because it turns out the blood that Lois found was Superman's blood, which I think that Bruno could be making another Superman clone, but I don't think they're going that route. I think there's a chance that they could be changing up a story from the comic books where Lana Lang got powers. And hear me out, it's only because of the fact that in the comics, John Henry Irons and Lana Lang are together. And it's got me thinking that Bruno Mannheim knows John Henry Irons is alive on this earth again. Even though he doesn't know it's a doppelganger, he just knows John Henry Irons is back. I think what's going to happen is he's going to go after John Henry, not find him, but find Lana, grab Lana, and use her for experiments. Because we thought that Henry Miller is still alive and being experimented on, but they want someone who can take more. And they want someone that could do more. So potentially they could take Lana, put Superman's powers in her, making her a superwoman, and then control her in some way. Which I think would be a very interesting story if they do it this way, because in the comics, Lana Lang was Superwoman for a very short time. When the New 52 Superman died, his energy was absorbed by Lana Lang and that version's Lois Lane. The New 52 Lois Lane died later on, but Lana, on the brink of death, was saved by John Henry Irons and Superman, which I think it could be a very cool story, because technically we did get Lana have powers last season, but she was the Bizarro version, which I'm curious to see where they're going to go. Maybe they'll give her powers for a short time. What do you think of this theory? Do you have any of your own? Do you think they're just going to make a Superman clone again? Let me know down in the comments. What are your overall thoughts of the season so far? I know we're 3 episodes in, but there's not really that many episodes in this season. I think there's only 12. Let me know down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. And also let me know what you think about this new look, because I am using a different camera. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you all later.